I'm going to call to order the Board of Education meeting at 7:03 p.m. At this time, I'm going to read the Open Public Meetings Act. In accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PI 1975, public notice of this meeting has been sent to the Star Ledger, Suburban Trends, all board members, all district schools, Bloomingdale Borough Hall, Clerk of the Borough of Bloomingdale, and posted online on the district website. Copies of agendas are also available this evening. This time, I'd like to ask everyone to rise for the flag salute. To the United States of America and to the republic. Roll call, Ms. Alonso.
Here. Mrs. Martin here. Mrs. Martinka here. Mr. Olenslager.
Present.
Mrs. Spencer here. Mrs. Wilson here. Mr. Carvalho.
Here. I'd like to get a motion for the approval of the minutes of January 18th.
So moved. Second.
Are there any questions or comments on the minutes? Okay.
Mrs. Greco? Yes. Mrs. Hussein? Yes. Mrs. Marcus? Yes. Mrs. Martinka? Yes. Mr. Olenslager?
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer? Yes. Mrs. Wilson?
Yes. Mr. Caraballo.
Yes. As we can see, we have a very full house this evening, so I want to welcome everyone in attendance. Tonight, we have quite a few students receiving awards, and we also have the Boy Scouts here. This time, I'll read my president's report. I was a trainer for February member orientation weekend. Lauren Greco and I participated in the new business administrator, board secretary interviews. I corresponded with the Boy Scouts of Bloomingdale 246. I just want to happy report that James Rusnak, a Bloomingdale student from Butler High School, recognized at the 2023 Passaic County SBA and Passaic County Education Association Unsung Heroes Celebration at Clifton High School on Monday, March 13th. All board members, Kathy Halwa and Dr. Nicosia, have confirmed Tuesday, March 7th at 6 p.m. for our board retreat. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Caraballo. I'm going to give a very brief district update report on happenings, and then we'll go to the student awards portion of the meeting. So first here at Walter T. Bergen, some information at the I'm sorry, there's an echo from the laptop here. The first for Valentine's Day shop has been set up, and they sold teddy bears and glasses for Valentine's Day yesterday. The school participated in supporting His Helping Hands, which is a nonprofit charitable organization run by Bloomingdale residents. Their goal was to collect 214 items by 214. They successfully collected 529 items. Which is excellent. Our 5th and 6th grade gifted and talented students opened up a school store to support their entrepreneurship elective studies. There is this evening, so if you haven't eaten yet, I encourage you at Bonnie Yellow's. There's a fundraiser that supports our 8th grade class. So if you haven't eaten yet, that's a great place to go tonight. Our 8th grade science students are enjoying learning about DNA and different blood types in their new science labs. And then finally, turning to middle school athletics, we are very happy with our boys and girls basketball team. The girls basketball team made it to the quarterfinals, and unfortunately, that's when they were defeated. And they finished the season right at 500 at 8-8. Our boys basketball team also did very well. They made it to the championship game. Unfortunately, they didn't come out on top, but still, we're proud of them and their efforts. They finished the season at 14-5. Samuel O'Donnell, I'm happy to report after months of delays due to supply chain issues, the playground is scheduled to go in within the next 2 weeks. So the area has been marked. And now that we've had some beautiful weather, you'll see the construction start very soon. And then the pouring of rubber, the rubber surface, so we no longer have mulch chips, will take place within the next few weeks at Samuel O'Donnell. And then they'll immediately move over to Martha B. Day to install the new preschool playground there as well. And then finally at Martha B. Day, I know I saw some of you there this evening. Martha B. Day hosted their first ever ice cream social, which became one of our most well-attended events with over 150 individuals coming out to eat 15 gallons of ice cream before dinner time. So that was this evening, a little while ago at Martha B. Day. And then also Congressman Gottheimer was there yesterday. It was a pleasure that he picked of all the schools in his congressional district. He did pick Martha B. Day to come to and make with our first graders in Miss Holsey's class. He came and made Valentine's, which then he delivered for the troops immediately after. I know we were featured on a few different news stations and then all over social media yesterday. So obviously it's great that he chose Bloomingdale and Martha B. Day, and a kudos to Miss Holsey and her class. It was very neat to watch the students interact with the congressman. He was very down to earth and wonderful working with them. So those are some updates within the schools of our district. I'm going to split my superintendent's work because there are not one, but two presentations I'll be delivering this evening. But I know most people are here for student awards. But before we begin student awards, I do want to say, if anyone is interested, there are two presentations after. The first is on our Start Strong test results for 4th through 8th grade. And the second is we do it a few times a year, State of the District Address, where I look at the district goals that we set back right at the beginning of the fiscal year in July, look at how we're progressing on them. So I will be giving a presentation for that this evening. So without further ado, Mr. D, myself, Mr. Caraballo, we're going to honor a few different groups of students this evening. So we're actually going to start with some students from Samuel R. Donald School. So we are honoring students this evening from SRD and Walter T. Bergen. So I'm going to handle the students from Samuel R. Donald School. So when I call your name, I'd ask that you come up. We ask that, like we do, come up by grade, take a photo, and then you could head back to your family as well. So these students participated in the County of Passaic poster calendar. It's a really neat idea where students from all over Passaic are able to submit artwork, and then the artwork is judged, and it could be selected for the Passaic County poster. And we did have we had 4 students, 3 of which were selected as honorable mention, and 1 of which actually was selected for honor within the calendar itself. So I'd like to call up first our students that were selected for honorable mention. The first is Dylan Aconzo. Come on up, Dylan. There you are. The second honorable mention is Alexa Hamway. Stay up. And the third honorable mention is Aurora Pepler. And then the one individual that was selected for inclusion in the calendar, and you could have a chance to see it. Congratulations to Zachary Wallet. And if the 3 of you can smile for Miss Horner, who's right in the middle of the room. Perfect. Thank you. And congratulations to our students from that celebration. And now you guys can certainly go back. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Deeb, our principal of Walter T. Bergen, who's going to honor our trimester 1 most valuable.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Dr. Nicosia and the Bloomingdale Board of Education for inviting these students and their families here tonight to be recognized one more time for an outstanding job during trimester 1. These are our trimester 1 most valuable Bobcats. So some quick background before I start calling up students by name and grade. What is a most valuable Bobcat? It's similar to the honor roll, but a little bit different. While we still, of course, have honor roll and high honor roll, we also have this most valuable Bobcat program, which recognizes 1 student per grade level in 1 particular area. So while some of these most valuable Bobcats or MVBs are honor roll students, some aren't. And a lot of us in here have gone through school know that, sometimes you're not a great math student, but you might excel in some other area. So those are the students that are here today. They excelled in trimester one in one particular subject or other special area. They weren't always the highest grade earner, perhaps, but they may be the student that demonstrated the greatest love of learning or curiosity for a particular subject. Either way, I feel like it's a special award because they're nominated by a teacher or a team of teachers, and then they're vetted by a committee of teachers and selected to be the winners. So while they'll receive a certificate here tonight from the Board of Education, our MVBs have also already earned a certificate from Walter T. Bergen. On that certificate was the narrative of the teacher write-up for their nomination for what they did in trimester one. They also received, I want to show this to you because it's donated by our PTA. First-time winners get a bag, and in the bag is some goodies, some school things, pencils, erasers, stickers, stuff like that, but also some coupons from local businesses, Union Avenue Deli and AJ's Pizza donate for our MVB program some free pizza and sandwiches. Repeat winners will win this MVB t-shirt. Okay, so that's thanks to the PTA. And then now you're here tonight to receive your award from the Board of Education. Very proud of these students. We want to keep motivating our students to put their best foot forward in class and as citizens in our school district. So we're going to start with the fifth grade, and I'll call the fifth graders up. I think it might be best to hold our applause till the end because there's quite a few. Fifth graders, come up and receive your certificate from Mr. Caraballo, and then stand here and we'll get a photo op and be able to shower you with a round of applause at the end. Our fifth grade MVBs in trimester one. For art, Santi Dillon. For English language arts, Julia Leptuck. For the category of citizenship, Nick Martinez. In math, Valentina Gutierrez. Our most improved, Jason Vasquez. In music, Kaylee Snyder. In music, Ryan Snyder, a musical family perhaps. In physical education, Vaughn Riskoff. For demonstrating a great positive attitude, Maury Hernandez Gonzalez. In science, Brandon Travello. In social studies, Jordi De Dios. For technology, Ryan Van Lenton. And in world language, Victoria Rodano. These are our grade 5 most valuable Bobcats. Hold that cert up for the photo op. All right, thank you, grade 5 MVBs. You can return to your family. Our grade 6 MVBs. In art, Diana Awadala. English language arts, Emily Maurer. Math, Emily Sutton. Most improved, Gianna Romano. Music, Royce Estevez. Physical education, Ryan Deach. Ryan. And here comes Royce. In science, Hudson Dobkowski. Social studies, Zoe Villano. Overall standout student, Adriana Earl. Technology, Nasheen Chowdhury. And in world language, Jacobo Zuluaga. Congratulations, grade 6 MVB. Okay, good job, guys. You can go back to your family. Grade 7 MVBs in art, Cheyenne McMaster. Back. English language arts, Jocelyn Sanchez. In math, Gianna McMaster, and in citizenship, Gianna McMaster. Most improved, Maxwell Mendez. Music, Joe Procaccio. Physical education, Ryder Higby. Science, Matt Escobar. Social studies, Elul Akar. Perseverance, Febby Curian. In technology, Rianne O'Donnell. And for world language, Christian Franco. Congratulations, grade 7 MVB. Thank you, 7th grade students. Our grade 8 MVBs in the category of art, Neo Chikoyu. In English language arts, Josh Riley. Mathematics, Jennifer Serrano.
Neo. Neo.
In music, Madeline White. Physical education, Andrew Combs. Science, Brooke Demers. Social studies, Frankie Piccolo. Technology, Arlen Chosai. And world language, Kyle McKernan. Congratulations, 8th grade MVB. Good job, guys. You can go back to sitting. For bringing the students and families here tonight for
back to
recognizing their
John's.
outstanding work.
Go
And
back to
students,
John.
keep up the great work.
Yeah.
Good job. We're all proud of you. Thank you.
This is the, that's the poster.
Okay.
So with the board's permission, I'm going to recommend that we take a 5-minute break.
Very good.
Thank you for coming out, everyone.
You'll have to come over here and talk to me. Over here if you want me to hear you.
All right. Again, good evening, everyone, members of the board and the public. So this evening, I'm going to give two presentations. One is required under New Jersey code on any time we receive standardized assessment results. In this case, the Start Strong assessment. We're required by code to give a presentation on those results within 60 days of public disclosure. So that is what this presentation is. I'm actually very excited to give this presentation this evening because the results are quite encouraging for the school district. So to begin, we start off with the standardized assessments that students in Bloomingdale take for this school year. So to begin, the students start the school year off by taking the Start Strong assessment, which is delivered in English, language arts, and mathematics for students in grades 4 to 8. And the Start Strong assessment is delivered in science for students in grade 6. It's also given up through high school, but for the sake of this presentation, it only covers the grade bands that Bloomingdale serves. Students also take the NJSLA English Language Arts and Mathematics assessment in grades 3 through 8, the NJSLA Science assessment in grades 5 through 8, which will be delivered in mid-May. And then students who, based on their specific disability, are not instructed based on the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, take the dynamic learning maps. They take a beginning of the year similar to Start Strong diagnostic assessment, and they take embedded units throughout their specific program based on their IEP. They take the dynamic learning maps, which assesses student progress. And again, it's because they're not taught on this New Jersey student learning standards. And then finally, our students in our English language learner population take the Access 2.0 assessment to gauge proficiency in the English language learner program and potential to exit out of that program. So those are the standard assessments that students take within Bloomingdale. For the sake of this presentation, I try for the sake of consistency of the board and the public, keep all of my standardized assessment presentations in the same general format. So the way the format will follow tonight is a breakdown of ELA and mathematics scores for the current administration, Start Strong 2022, then a comparison of ELA and mathematics scores for 2021 to 2022, the only 2 years this assessment's been given. We'll look at, as required by code, a comparison of student cohorts, an analysis of subgroups. I'll be very honest, based on our small size of our district, I really don't get into subgroups because it could potentially disclose a particular class or go even further to disclose an individual student. And then most important, we take the data and we plan for actionable steps for the future. So when we look at this presentation, we're really looking for the state of New Jersey really favors the color purple on these reports, and they give you 3 different shades of purple. When you look at the shades of purple, the darkest color kind of almost appears black on the Promethean board, really is where we want to see the most students be. That means the least amount of support is needed. The way the state of New Jersey, as they did last year as well, every student is grouped into a level of support. So there, in theory, is not a group of students that they feel needs no support, but the least category requiring the least amount of support is the dark purple, which is the less support required. We'd obviously want to see, when we're looking at, we're looking at one graph, we want to see the most students there. In general, we want to see, when we compare year to year, we want to see more dark purple than other purple. We want to see a decrease in light purple. Light purple, looking at the example from SRD, is where we don't want to see students. Those are our students needing the strongest support when the grade level starts. So when we look, we want to see the least amount there, and we want to see a decrease when we go year to year in the light purple. It's okay when we look at the regular shade of purple, I guess you can call it, in the middle. That's students that need some support. That's students that are very close to grade level standards. We obviously sometimes either want to see, sometimes we want to see a decrease because they're jumping up, or we want to see an increase because they move from needing more support to needing only some level of support, using the state's terms. So the way I always think about it is kind of like a loop. We want to see students moving up, moving from the bottom of the bar graph to the middle, and the middle up to the top, or even further. So that's the kind of the format the state of New Jersey uses, and I purposely use the same graphics that are on the score reports parents get. So looking at a multi-year comparison, starting off grade 4 ELA, that's the lowest grade band that takes it. On the left, you'll see Start Strong 2021, and on the right, you'll see Start Strong 2022. This is exactly the type of progression I was talking about that we want to see. A year ago, we had about 49%, almost half of our students needing strong support. This current year, we're down to only a quarter. And I usually get this question. This is inclusive of all students. That means general education, special education, ELL. It's inclusive of every student that possibly could take the course. Again, this isn't disaggregated based on special population. So we are seeing, again, we saw a drop to 28% needing strong support. We did see, again, the idea of students moving up. We saw 24% of students needing some support. And then we saw, as you kind of work your way up further, about 48, my eyes are blurring me now, 48% of students moving up to strong support. So again, a sizable increase in grade 4 ELA year to year. Again, these are different students. But looking at grade 4, it really could allow us to examine programmatically. Grade 5, it's looking at a similar idea. We're seeing a decrease in the light purple. We went from 35 to 25% of students needing more support. We jumped up a little bit to a 33% of students needing some support. And again, moving in the direction, we want 42% of students showing, again, less support, an increase from 35% the previous year. The next one, ELA 6, and again, not every area is going to be ideal. In ELA 6, we saw a different phenomenon happen. We went from 37% needing strong support to 42. So obviously not the direction we want. We actually saw that middle section of some support kind of shrink by over 10%. We saw an increase on the top by students needing less support, but concerning that we saw an increase on strong support. So obviously, because this is grade 6, we go back and look at our grade 5 programmatic decisions for language arts and see what adjustments need to be made within our curriculum. Grade 7, again, we saw a light drop in number of students needing strong support from 31% to 27%. Again, likely those students moving into the some support needed. And again, in this one, kind of really crunching the middle, we did also see a drop off in students needing less support. So again, we go back and we look at what happened the previous year with our programming. But again, we always are still seeing a decrease on that lowest level, which is what we want to see. And then grade 8, looking in the trend that we want to see, again, this is the example of the trend, again, of the splitting idea. Again, 26% went up to 30%. Again, not exactly the direction we wanted to see there. A little bit of students falling out of the top range as well. But again, we go look about programmatic decisions, but also looking at that we aren't seeing a dramatic drop off in either way. When we jump to math, this is where our most impressive results were. Again, and this is, I remind, we did put new mathematics instruction in place the current year, but that wouldn't have touched these scores because these are given within the first 2 to 3 weeks of the school year. We saw 61% of students, a significant amount, needing strong support in mathematics. That dropped off to 28%. And the biggest impressive mark here is when you look at that dark purple, we only had 9% of students needing less support in 4th grade the previous year, up to, again, mid to upper 40s in the following year. Excellent result there. And you're going to see a similar trend moving in the right direction for grade 5 math, jumping from 63 down to 53%. Again, not as big a jump as we want to see, but moving in the right direction. 21% of students needing some support, but another big jump in some students that needed some support, moving into the needing less support on grade level. Going to 6th grade math, we were at 60%, almost so about a 20% decrease when we go to strong support needed in the next year. Again, fairly consistent. I mean, 30% to 21%, but another very, very large jump in students needing less support. Extremely encouraging. Going to grade 7 mathematics, again, looking at 33% down to 23%. And again, these students most likely jumped right into that some support, progressing 47% with our students needing less support, fairly consistent. And then grade 8, again, we saw this concept of splitting again happen where we were at 26%. We jumped up to about 30% needing strong support, but we saw a great reduction in our middle section of some support where we saw a lot more students starting 8th grade where they need to be on grade level. So very encouraging results. When we look at cohort, because that's how we make some other educational decisions, we want to see, is this a programmatic issue or is this a student targeting issue that we want to look at? It's not. It is purposeful that the left side is blank because we don't have data on 2020 grade 4 because that's the first year they test. But we do have data on the rest of the groups. In ELA, when we track our grade 5 students, so current grade 5, we look at the start strong in grade 4, start strong in grade 5, and we see an improvement. We see 49% were not where they needed to be, needing the strongest support possible, percent, and so on and so forth. And I should have started with this. I apologize. This entire presentation will be posted tomorrow morning. We did a screen voiceover of the slides. They'll be posted for anybody in the public who wants to see it and review it as well. Grade 6, similar idea that we saw. So this grade 6 we're really looking at. So in grade 5, about 35% of students needed the strongest support. That jumped to 42 with, again, some students from that middle group moving down. Definitely something we want to identify. We do know the exact identity of the students, so we could specifically target. And that's the work that's been happening for months now within our classrooms. Similar idea with grade 7, tracking this cohort. This cohort gave us additional information. So we said 37% of this cohort in grade 6 needed the strongest level of support. That's down about 10%. And we kind of try to figure out where did that 10% go. Some went into needing some strong support, but again, encouraging, we saw a big increase in that cohort needing less support. And then grade 8, similar idea. We saw these students pretty much staying stagnant. with the exception of, as I spoke about previously, some students falling out of that top range and needing some support, which obviously we then target strategically. Mathematics, again, similar trend with grade 4. We don't have comparable data at this time. Start strong, grade 4 to 5. Again, looking at, we saw that this is current grade 5. So when they were in grade 4, 61% needed significant support. That's down to 53%, but with a very large jump in the students needing less support. In grade 6, we saw 63%, again, significant drop in students needing strong support, and gains on the other end of the spectrum with students needing less support as well. Grade 7 math, again, exactly the trend we want. Some of our most impressive data here. Looking, kudos to our 6th grade teachers as well. Looking at 60% of students, this cohort came in needing strong support in mathematics, and that dropped all the way down to 27% as well. Grade 7, similar trend, 33 to 30, but again, students moving up through the progression as well. So it really shows we're targeting and meeting a diverse set of students' needs. So when we look at this data, and obviously our classroom teachers have had this data for months, even before it became public and has been sent out to parents and presented here, they've been targeting the specific students with instruction within the classroom. At the district level, what we're looking at is, obviously I spoke a little bit about language arts itself. And I think we firmly believe from an educational perspective, language arts starts from your foundational base. So it starts in your early literacy grades and then builds upon itself. So as our curriculum revision cycle allows, we're conducting an in-depth review of both our English language arts program and curriculum itself. The curriculum committee's met for 3 consecutive. We're at our 4th meeting of the year. We've met for the last 3 consecutive Mondays, really doing heavy work and lifting in the area of language arts to roll out a new language arts program to support the to really replace the programmatic piece, but then also support foundations in place, because we have one of the best in that program already. We're kind of looking at that right now in grades K through 4, really working with our middle school teachers as well, with a strong focus on literacy intervention as well. As you know, this past year, the district put in place 2 new teachers, one being a reading specialist supporting the K through 4 level with interventions in the area of literacy. We did implement a before and after, our goal, we looked at in before and after school program, K through 4, targeting identified students. We put that in place as far as the tutoring group as well, which just the first cycle just wrapped up. A continued focus at the middle school on 5 through 8, providing support in the area of literacy through our homework club. And really, I spoke about briefly, working with teachers on formative assessment data, because while the Start Strong assessment is a snapshot of one day, and that day was now about 6 months ago, we're continuously using formative summative assessments and standardized measures within the district to gauge progress on how students are performing throughout the year. Because in reality, there's only 2 published standardized assessments from the state of New Jersey: Start Strong in the fall, NJSLA in the spring, and those are really snapshots of students' progress. So we use additional methods as well. In the area of mathematics, we're on our 1st year of implementing our new math program, Into Math, which has really changed and transformed the way we use mathematics instruction in the district. We have continued PD on Into Math, including tomorrow on Staff Professional Development Day, on implementing those best practices. We've implemented Reflex Math to support math fact fluency in our middle elementary grades. And then really we're working with teachers to kind of help move those some support to strong support, and also on the NJSLA levels, the 4 to 5, your top performing level, looking at rigor within our lessons and really truly pushing those students to their highest capable potential. And then continue, of course, implementation of frequent assessment practices. We always preach to our teachers that they should be able to know every single day when a lesson's delivered what students are walking out the door, either knowing, grasping, excelling on that concept. So in terms of the standardized assessment presentation, that is where our district is at right now. Like I said, very encouraging. We are moving in the right direction. I will say, as we compared this and compared notes at the county level, we are moving faster than a lot of other districts. I think it's some of the programmatic places we've put in place and will continue to put in place throughout this school year. So if anyone, questions, I'll take questions from the board. And then if anyone is the public has questions, you could certainly ask during first public comment. Any questions, comments from the board? And so the public is aware, the board has seen this presentation already and discussed at the committee level. Mhm. Thank you. Absolutely. They're working very hard. Any other questions from the board? I agree. And the structure, I fully agree. And the structure of those positions is key because portions of their day are spent direct instruction with students. The other portions are supporting our teachers in the classrooms with instructional best practices. So for a district our size, it's the perfect blend of position. I agree. Right. So we'll transition to my second. Perfect. And I think we ran into this identical issue last year of two presentations on one February board meeting date. It's because of the 60, if anyone's wondering, it's because of the 60-day requirement we're under. We have to present pretty much at the February board meeting for Start Strong. In case anyone was wondering, because I know I didn't guess, there is no, and we actually asked at the county level, the county superintendent last Friday, will Start Strong happen again next year? And the answer is it's still unknown. So once I know information about that, I will certainly let you know. So again, this changing gears, but related, is a State of the District address with really a focus on an update on the district goals that we set last year. So to begin, the way we set district goals was really based on strategic planning. We looked at our strategic plan. Everything we do in the district funnels down from the strategic plan. And so therefore, the district goals are set in alignment with the strategic plan, and so is this presentation. So really, when looking a year ago now by this board, looking at academic excellence and educating the whole child, really to engage and prepare each student to become a successful contributor in the 21st century world. So with that goal set at the district level, it's what did we say last spring that we were going to do this school year to kind of really work towards that goal? So what we said last spring is we were going to implement the district curriculum renewal plan for the area of literacy, implement and support the new mathematics curriculum that we reviewed the previous year and was a goal the previous year, continue to support this being year 2 of the new middle school schedule model with a focus on increase in social emotional learning. We are going to undertake a comprehensive study of elective course offerings within Walter T. Bergen with the goal of expanding student elective choice. Undertake a comprehensive study of elective offerings at the elementary level with a focus on increasing exploration while maintaining core instructional minutes. We're going to develop and implement a new gifted and talented program that focuses on STEM and art. Continue monitoring instructional data coming off the pandemic impacted years. And I think that one will be in our plans for years to come. And then really target and focus on students that are not on grade level using various forms of data, which in additional support and programming. So that's what we said we were going to work on. Here's how we're doing thus far at this point in the year, about 6 to 7 months in. So we're currently, as I mentioned in the last presentation, completing our review of the ELA curriculum. We're currently at the stage where, and I've shared with the curriculum committee, and I'm sure they'll share out, we've met a few times. We've compared and contrasted our current program to where we need to be. We're looking at kind of what New Jersey's student learning standards. We're currently narrowing down programs that we feel could best support the foundations program that we already have, as well as meet the needs of our learners. We're down to a few final choices. We're going to see other districts implement them in the near future, and then we'll likely pilot them in our own classrooms to make an ultimate decision and start rolling out PD. In terms of supporting mathematics, we've been supporting it through the second position, as Ms. Vargas spoke about, our math instructional coach and math specialist, supporting mathematics throughout the year, as well as having the company that does publish our Into Math program come out and provide professional development as well. We've really already this year under Mr. Deeb's leadership, we've implemented further student choice. We looked at 8th grade and students got to pick some elective choices in 8th grade. And then we're really looking at how that's progressing for future modifications in the future. We did roll out a schedule model change at Martha B. Day this year that really increased instructional minutes students are spending in your core academic areas. At SRD, they continue with their schedule model of focus on with a focus period development for differentiated and targeted instruction. And then this year, we're looking at bringing consistency within models for what works best to roll into next school year. We did roll out a new gifted and talented program at Samuel R. Donald. And then we implemented this past January a staff tutoring program to really support student learning. We just finished up. We purposely wanted to do it in cycle format because we just finished up the first cycle, and now we could look at how the program went, what changes we need to make, and then roll out in the very near future the second cycle. Continued work we feel we need to do is really continue, as I mentioned, looking at ELA as we are, continue to support a mathematics program, not just for during year one, but for the future. We need to continue working with our middle school leadership to determine best ways to expand elective offerings, but also with fidelity and meaningful decision-making. And then really continue to monitor student achievement levels, like I just spoke about, looking at our various data sources, not to start strong, but a number of different data sources to really address and target any student learning loss that took place. District Goal 2 focuses on facilities. Our goal statement was to develop modern facilities that ensure student safety, are energy efficient, and foster student learning and creativity. The objectives we set this past year were to we took at this from two different perspectives. One was about school security, implement the standard response security protocol within all three of our buildings. In conjunction with the Bloomingdale Police Department, we wanted to simulate a full-scale drill of evacuation to assess readiness. We wanted to investigate and, if approved, enhance entry security at all three of our buildings. We wanted to then, from a facilities standpoint, reconvert Martha B. Day, because about a year ago, at the end of last year, it was only really a half-used building for instructional purposes. We wanted to convert it to be a fully operational school, meaning return any office that wasn't a classroom, move it out, and return every classroom to its original intended purpose. And then we wanted to begin the stages of undertaking the referendum planning process with a focus on developing age-appropriate facilities that meet our students' learners' needs for years to come. So where are we at with that one? We have implemented the standard response protocol in all three of our schools since September. Staff completed over the summer training on the standard response protocol. We did, which was, it wasn't even a goal, but it relates to school security. We entered into a shared service agreement for a Class 3 police officer with the borough of Bloomingdale. So that's Officer Jim you see every day in our buildings. We created security vestibules at each of our buildings. The last one was completed this past week at Samuel R. Donnell. The doors finally went in. So now all three of our buildings, when you walk in, you cannot walk directly into areas of instruction. There's a second set of doors that you need to be let through. So an added layer of security. A small one, but an important one. We upgraded our walkie-talkie system with each version. So we're not using older, but more up-to-date walkie-talkies for ease of communication. In our early elementary schools, we rolled out that every teacher got a walkie-talkie. So there's that seamless communication between the building itself. Martha B. Day opened this past September with the largest enrollment in its 60-year history at 206 students. And then the facility committee and the PR strategic planning committee consistently are discussing school facility improvement projects along with Ms. Alonso, Mr. Barros, and myself, and the district's architect. Continued work, we need to continue to support the standard response protocol. A protocol is just a protocol unless it's actually drilled and practiced on a regular basis. We're continuing to address school security within all three of our buildings. We're working with Chief Burrell and the Bloomingdale Police Department for planning a wide-scale evacuation with the reunification process simulated. We certainly recognize that could be, we're trying to balance. We recognize that could be traumatic on students to go through that whole process. Never want to actually have to try that in a real situation. We want to have some of any kink that may exist worked out and really test how well our written plan can be executed. And then we continue to work with the Board of Education, both long-term and within. The third strategic planning and community involvement to build and sustain community engagement and support for public education in Bloomingdale. We said we were going to undertake two goals during this year: implement a comprehensive wraparound program for families that includes family training, support, and programming, and continue to focus on expanding student voice at Walter T. Bergen and begin an expansion of student voice as appropriate at SRD and Martha B. Day. Evidence of completion thus far. We did in the fall. I had continued my Talk a Latte program. I did that through the summer and the fall. We plan to roll that out in the second bullet, really to enhance that program to give the Board of Education more opportunity to dialogue with community members too. So we'll probably be teaming up in the near future and roll out our spring series dates fairly soon. Our building leadership hosted Parent Academy sessions during the fall of 2022. The attendance, we looked and we realized and reflected and we said we might be missing the mark there. So with the support of our Public Relations Strategic Planning Committee, we morphed to really based on feedback to host parent-child experiences. In January, we hosted Family Math Night. And then each of the buildings are hosting a little bit of different experiences. For example, Martha B. Day today with their social as well. We continued to have representatives from Walter T. Bergen at board meetings. I did, based on the length of tonight's, told them, don't worry, I'll give their report this evening, but they will continue to be here. At Walter T. Bergen, the students produce the news every week, and it's emailed out. It's a student production of the morning announcements. At typo there, I apologize. SRD, our positive behavior improvements, school-wide behavior improvement system is in place, and students obviously take ownership over their actions and earn rewards based on appropriate and positive behavior. And then Martha B. Day is continuing a little different dynamic there with Student Voice. They're continuing their Reading Buddies program where our first graders are teaming up with our preschool classrooms to kind of investigate and show off a love of literature at that level. Future areas of work, we want to continue to look at different ways we can engage families within our school. And those discussions are happening at the board level, at committee level, and with our district administration as well. We want to build upon the success of our family math night because we feel like we really finally found our mark with that. And so we are planning for family science night and science fair and ELA nights as well, and also expand those throughout the district, not just at one building where we've piloted it. And then, like I said, we want to really look like we did this evening to also plan family engagement evenings that just promote socialization, that allow our school to be a community center for families to come in, short bursts, socialize with each other, because we know that was something that was restricted. And we know some of our families, especially in our second, third grade range, may not know each other as well because that bond didn't get to happen in kindergarten because there are a lot of restrictions in place. So that's continued work that we have planned at the district level for the fall. And then the throughout the spring. The fourth goal was on technology. It's really to look at technology within the district and to develop a state-of-the-art facility where the creative, industrial, and practical arts prepare the true 21st century learner. What we did, the objectives we took were really on the facility upgrade standpoint. So this ties into facilities. We really felt like starting this school year, we needed all of our students to have state-of-the-art technology within our classrooms. So we completed a district-wide interactive display upgrade. So every classroom is gutted of its technology this past summer. Every classroom now has consistent, up-to-date, best-of-the-market technology with the Promethean boards. All staff got a brand new device. So we removed the staff when we surveyed them, got them a device they need to support instruction. And then we continued funding of in-service days to really focus on instruction. We're continuing our, like tomorrow, for example, again, we have a Promethean board. Again, some staff members have different degrees of comfort with it. So continuing to support professional development for staff as we do roll out new technology as well. And I just went through my areas of completion, but again, similar items. We really also were smart stewards financially. We took our old hardware and didn't just put it in the dumpster. We did sell it off, and a local school district actually bought all of our old hardware. So we brought in some revenue from that. We also made some strategic decisions in the area of technology where, staff were each having 2 devices. We said that's a lot for our tech department to maintain. Plus, replacing those on the annual cycle is a drain fiscally. So we brought staff down to 1 portable device. And then really through Ms. Alonso and Mr. Graceffo, our manager of technology, we looked at technology from a security perspective in terms of our back-end infrastructure, but then also using technology to better handle school security in itself. And through we were able to open a makerspace in the fall of 2022. And then not included in here, but what is impressive is that the BBA has also given us, the BBA stands for Butler Bloomingdale Education Association. They've given us another makerspace at Samuel R. Donnell, which we plan to open in the fall of 2023. That happened in the last week or so. But areas to look at is obviously when you purchase a lot of technology at once, we need to make sure that there's a replacement plan in place. So looking at within this fiscal budget to start our first Chromebook replacements so that we don't get into a situation where all of our technology needs replacing at once. And the board has a technology plan it approved last year that we continue to follow. We continue to survey staff for what professional development they need in the areas of technology and making sure they get it. And then, as I said, we need to plan for a makerspace grant project, but that's one we could check off because we were formed very early on in the recent past, that we received that grant. So that's the work the district is currently doing right now, and we continue to do. Obviously, I think technology is one area that we've made a lot of progress in. So I think now is the time we start for next year planning goals. We start morphing this from upgrading. We're going to use technology like we start targeting within our maker spaces. So thank you for listening to my presentation. Again, members of the board, if you have any questions, I'll take them now. Members of the public, first public comment, be more than happy to answer. Mhm. Yeah, thank you.
Forgive my ignorance, a Promethean board? Would I refer to that as a smart board?
So a lot of us use the terms like smartboard interchangeably. Smartboard is actually a brand.
Okay,
So like what you're looking at is a Promethean board. It's another brand, but it's
okay,
has different capabilities than.
okay.
I'll it's within these district goals, obviously there's really bigger goals and some of it, fleshed out a little bit, but I appreciated some of the attention to some elements that might not always be as apparent looking from the outside, like education, like my son is in the second grade, right? But some of that kindergarten bonding of knowing the kids, like noticing that piece, feedback on that piece and adding it to, like a sub goal. I think, I really appreciated some of the, the smaller pieces,
Mhm.
because, those smaller pieces make a big difference in the students' lives. So that was nice to see.
So very soon we'll start discussing goals for next year. A lot of them tie into what the budget, but we'll start discussing goals for next year as well and continue moving along. I'll give likely about usually once a quarter, I give an update. So look forward to in about 3 months or so giving another update. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, at this time, before going to asking for a motion first for a comment, I'll just note that Ms. Santana requested to be absent due to illness, so therefore it's noted. This time, I'd like to get a motion, first public comment on agenda items only, subject to bylaws number 167. Okay, all in favor? Aye. The first public comment section is open right now. If you want to make a public comment, go up to the mic and state your name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Dan Hawkins, 6 Pearl Street, Bloomingdale. Thank you for the presentation on the start. I did have a question. Are there any studies regarding the statistical significance of year-over-year differences? In other words, I saw we had some fall offs, and then we had some large gains, but are those statistically significant? In other words, is it within the random distribution? Or, for example, if we took a look at 5 or 6 other districts that were similar to ours, socioeconomic background, did they all move in the same direction on English and math, possibly indicating there's a difference in the testing methodology, or is it randomized, and are these differences year over year really significant? In other words, you may think you're doing really well in math, for example, because you got this great increase. But if it's within a standard deviation or less of all the districts all across New Jersey and anybody else who uses the same methodology, it might not really indicate anything significant. Same thing for a drop, where you have people fall out of your highest levels. Might not necessarily indicate there's a problem with your program. It might just be within the random variation test. So.
No, I think that's a good question. My background's in statistics, so I fully recognize what you're saying. We're not provided with the level of data needed to do that. The only data we're really provided with is the state average. We don't know what the standard deviation is. We don't have, and also given the test is only 2 years old, it's tough to compare. It's also tough to compare because the data we're given on the state average really is all 600 something districts in New Jersey. We could possibly drill down. We haven't. What we've spent our time doing is drilling down into our 65 students in each grade and figuring out, why that student scored at the certain level, where their gaps are, is it an anomaly? And then how do we target them at that level? So that's where we focused our time thus far.
Okay, so it's basically a lack of testing isn't old enough to really get that.
Correct. And we're not sure, to be honest, if it will be around long enough to get that kind of.
All right, thank you.
But thank you for that.
It's a great question.
Anyone else want to make a comment on agenda items? No, seeing none, can I get a motion to close first public comment? Okay. At this time, I'd like to open up committee reports. Can we start with policy? Mr. Oleschlager,
Say all in favor?
all in favor? Aye. Thank you.
right, the Personnel and Policy Committee held a 90-minute meeting on February the 6th. Committee reviewed and approved 11 policies, 8 regulations, and 3 pieces of pending legislation. The committee also discussed the district's potential participation in a new NJDOE school facilities grant program. In addition, the committee was briefed by the superintendent on certain confidential personnel matters. Pursuant to the committee's recommendations, these matters are on this evening's agenda for board action. That completes my report.
That completes your report. Thank you. Curriculum, Instruction, and Technology, Ms. Spencer.
Curriculum Committee met on February 6th. It opened with a presentation from Ms. Arima and Dr. Nicosia about a possible creation of a new class to meet the needs of some Bloomingdale students, an emotional regulation impairment class. Currently, we send 4 students out of district, and there are 4 with a few within that could benefit from a class like this. And just the cost savings of not having to send students out of district, and transportation could be up to about $200,000 a student. So the committee agreed that this would definitely be something we should look into, try to keep the students at home and, to integrate them better with their peers and school community. So Dr. Nicosia and Ms. Aremia are going to begin laying the groundwork for creating the class, securing financing, staffing, and gauging parent interest. The committee was next presented with a preview of the Start Strong presentation that we saw tonight. And we also received an update of the ELA curriculum work. Dr. Nicosia spoke about that earlier. The committee has been meeting and has narrowed it down to 2 different curricula that they're going to kind of suss out and then implement in class and see how it's received. They've already got the professional development plans in place, regardless of which program is picked. So the teachers will be able to receive their training, and they're actually a year ahead because after feedback from the staff, they decided they wanted to implement a reading and writing program together, rather than 1 year apart, possibly 2 different systems. So they could pick one that really would support both at the same time. So we will actually be ahead 1 cycle in our curriculum review. And then finally, Dr. Nicosia presented an update of the math curriculum. The iReady mid-year benchmarks were far superior and higher than expected. And both the staff and the students have gotten used to the new curriculum and routines, and they're finding great success with them. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. This time, can we move on to the Finance and Facilities Report, Ms. Greco?
Yes, our finance committee met on February 15th at 4:30. Dr. Nicosia updated us on several items. We spoke about the update to the HVAC system up at Marcy Day, and architects are still working on those plans. We will be meeting March 6th in person, and that will be a budget meeting. Guys will notice on the agenda tonight that Ms. Alonzo is on there. Purposes of leaving our district. So I just want to say thank you to her. She's been wonderful as our business administrator, business office. Also, in conjunction with the working that she's done with Dr. Nicosia, is in the best shape it's been in years. And that's in part to your efforts along with Dr. Nicosia. So thank you. We'll miss you. But I just want to recognize you. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you. At this time, can we have the Public Relations and Strategic Planning Report, Ms. Hussein?
The Public Relations and Strategic Planning Committee met on Monday, February 13th, 2023, to discuss and quickly review the communication methods within the district. The current methods, one of the first things the district did was to open communications by going on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and through messages to parents. We discussed a new app, Parent Square, that could streamline teacher-family communication, replacing a number of systems in place. There would be a need to be full buy-in to ensure that this is what is right for the district. Dr. Nicosia, I met with the vendor. This app could help fix communication discrepancies. One benefit of this app is that it would keep data in district and allow self-monitoring. Right now, we don't really know where the data is kind of not within district, so we would still go through the current channels of communication. We already have email, social media, et cetera, along with that. And that is important.
Thank you. This time I'd like to move on to the superintendent's bulletin with general administration.
One comment on that,
Sure.
Mr. Caraballo. So before we move on the superintendent's bulletin, there are two resolutions I'd like to bring to your attention. The first is motion 6.6, which is the school calendar. Only this afternoon did I receive two of our ascending high schools calendars that have differences to ours. So I'm going to ask if the board pull off 6.6. So for the sake of our students that attend the two other high schools, we could just review at the committee level again and just put back on a later time.
So we're
Tabling 6.6 likely till next month. And then, because I'd rather do that than approve a calendar and have to make a revision if we feel a revision is even needed. And then under 10.5, just there was a typo. 10.5 is the resolution to join the pooled insurance program in New Jersey. It's just under the citation in the first paragraph where it says title. It should be 18A:18B-1 et sec.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, Mr. Oslager, can I ask you to move 6.1 to 6.5? And if you want to, then also move 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Okay,
Leave it up to you.
I'm going to see the superintendent's amendment and raise. So before I make a motion on, all right, you know what? Let's do this in order. I will move the adoption of resolutions 6.1 through 6.5. And all right, let's do it in order. 6.1 to 6.5.
Is there a second?
That was Greco. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you.
So we're looking at 6.1, 6.5. Can I have a roll call, please?
Is this a time for discussion?
Yes,
Or we do
yes.
this?
Any comments?
Well, I had the HIB, the policy on HIB and specifically the board's role in that, which is new. It's not new. It's we really
It's not
weren't-
new, but
we
it's
weren't aware of it, which is so I have a lot of questions about the mechanics of it. Do we move to first reading and then I don't know what the procedure is exactly, or do we just ask the questions now?
okay. So a policy takes two readings to be adopted. This is the policy is up for discussion. I will tell you that the 5512 is already on the books.
Right, yes, I
Okay,
realize that.
and the provision that you're talking about.
Right,
And it's mandatory in any event.
I realize. all that.
So what we had discussed in committee in flagging this issue was that it seemed that board members would benefit greatly from receiving instruction and training on what harassment, intimidation, and bullying means within the context of the school environment and this
Right.
policy. And the superintendent said, well, he's been doing training for years and offered to give us training. And I thought I saw you were going to put it on the agenda for our March meeting.
Correct.
Because it's 2 hours, unless you're gonna streamline that just to the board of. Said a 2-hour training in the policy on HIB. So I don't know whether part of it relates to the board or.
I think
really
I think this anti-bullying specialist must receive 2 hours. I could review,
thought that I looked, but it was a very long policy and I was trying to figure out our role when we don't. Because we have not had training on it, and if we see two kids that we don't know pushing each other, there's all kinds of things that, we need to know about, but we report that two kids pushed each other, or we report that somebody, that's what we need to know before. I don't even know whether I feel comfortable.
Well,
proving
remember,
it
this is
until I
all,
know what my responsibilities are.
okay, well, you already have that responsibility now.
Right.
The
but
policy has been on the books, I think, since,
I understand all that,
Right,
but I wanted,
so-
before I bring it to the first reading, maybe we need to have our training. That's what I don't know. I don't know how that, I'm uneasy with my role in this. Because, I mean, there was a terrible case down in around Lakewood or someplace.
well, this is
Where-
why it was flagged.
What?
This is why I flagged it in committee and said, hey,
The-
folks, do you realize what this says? And the reality is that we have to move forward on this. The board has to be in compliance. It's state policy. But by the same token, we will have the training in as reasonably, quickly, timely a manner as we can get it.
And the training's not 2 hours per, I know
Yeah,
the
yeah,
teachers
yeah.
don't even receive
Yeah.
that much. And in all honesty, I mean, first reading, then we get the training, and if you're, then we approve
Yeah,
it at
so
the
long-
next one.
Yeah.
Most of our interactions with students are at events like this, where, so the actual chances of us,
Or if we
you
come
know.
to talk to the superintendent and
Yeah.
we see two kids, something happening in the hall, and I learned a long time ago, the children.
Yeah.
Oh, he
But
hit
we'll
me,
get
oh,
the-
but
yeah,
I'm
we'll get
hitting
the-
him
yeah,
back,
we'll get the training, though.
you have to really, there's a lot to drill down on student interaction and what is bullying.
So,
And that's
just
what I.
That's
Right.
why I said we need training.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
So,
but
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna report something that's a perfectly innocent. I wanna know what I'm reporting.
so what I'm hearing is we need to have the training before we have the second reading.
Well, the second reading will be in March.
Right, but in
After our
March,
training.
during our training,
Mhm.
what I'm hearing is we should have the training on the early part of the agenda before we vote on the second reading.
Right, I would structure it in the usual manner when we give,
Okay.
like I did this evening.
Yeah, so that should alleviate you. You'll get training, and then that should make you more comfortable for voting on a second reading.
Okay,
Okay?
I'm gonna look back at this while we're approving everything else. I thought it said
No, we don't get to that.
2 hours.
All right. And while you're looking that up, any other questions or comments on 6.1, 6.5? Yeah, let me know when you're ready to.
I mean, I'll approve it because as Craig said, we do have to approve it, but with the proviso that we will have that training before.
Certainly, I'll do it. I'll put it on the
Okay.
beginning of the agenda. I do want to share, I would be worried about the district not moving this forward and being out of compliant with the current anti-bullying legislation.
Okay. All right, so we're okay then. If there's no more questions on 6.1, 6.15, I'll close it and ask for a roll call. Alonso?
Greco, yes. Mrs. Hussein? Yeah. Mrs. Marcus?
Yes,
Mrs. Martinez? Abstain. Mr. Oldslager?
Yes,
Spencer? Yeah. Mrs. Wilson? Yeah. Mr. Carbone?
Yes.
okay, now I will move to table resolution 6.6.
Second.
Any questions or comments on tabling it? No?
I take it you'll bring this back in March.
Committees and then, yeah.
Okay. I moved it and Lauren seconded it.
All right, so you've got your questions answered?
no, it's not questions.
No,
count.
this was the discrepancy in the
For
calendar.
the calendar,
Yeah.
your comments answered. He's gonna bring it back in March.
Yeah, yes.
Right,
Okay.
right.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments on 6.6? No? Sure.
Mrs. Greco? Yes. Mrs. Hussein? Yeah. Mrs. Marcus?
Yes,
Mrs. Martinez? Yeah. Mr. Oldslager?
Yes,
Spencer? Yeah. Mrs. Wilson? Yeah. Mr. Carbone?
Yes.
okay, now, before moving the balance of section 6, I want to bring to the board's attention new information regarding resolution 6.7. This is Assembly Bill 4496. This is something that was brought to the policy committee's attention by Mr. Caraballo. The committee considered this legislation on Monday the 6th. On Thursday the 9th, the Assembly Education Committee considered the legislation again and approved what is referred to legislatively as a committee substitute. The substitute has, with respect to the provision regarding the 15% district aid percentage, that did not change. The provision with regard to the pilot provision changed to the extent that it now imposes a requirement that a district make an application to the Commissioner of Education, which was not in place under the previous version of the bill. The legislation also has a new provision in it that says that basically any non-SDA district, which is, we're not a school development authority district, that has a construction project in excess of $10 million, that it has a provision for oversight by a certified construction management project, somebody who's certified by the division of property within the Treasury Department, the State Treasury Department. I brought these developments to the superintendent's attention this morning, and we discussed them, and essentially the merits of the legislation being the 15% and the fact that there would now be a provision for a district to enter into an agreement where it would benefit from at least 60% of the payments under a pilot, and not have to go to a referendum on a project, that those merits are still in place in this legislation. And the provision for the imposition of a construction manager of a project in excess of $10 million, you know, it's another layer of oversight by the state to make sure that school districts don't waste money. I don't think that will pose a problem for Bloomingdale. So I would recommend that the board still move forward with 6.7. Just modifying the third paragraph of the resolution to reflect that provision is subject to an application to the Commissioner of Education. And I'd also ask that in the resolved clause that we provide that copies of the resolution also be sent to the 4 legislators who are the sponsors of the bill, which I didn't have that information when I drafted this resolution. So that is what I would move as part of my motion.
Okay.
Okay. So I will, with that proviso, I will now move the adoption of resolution 6.7 through 6.9.
Any other,
Greco.
any questions or comments on 6.7 as amended? Through
Well,
6.9 or-
I did a friendly amendment in making the motion, so it's just, sure.
Application, it's just an application, or we have to wait back, does the bill say we have to wait for approval as well?
Bill doesn't say anything.
Okay, so they just want us to file an application fee?
Submit an
and
application to the
fee.
commissioner. It doesn't say anything about a fee. It just says submit an application to the commission.
Make it aware of the project. And to trigger the oversight, and to trigger the
I-
oversight.
It
You know,
doesn't say.
these are all details that I guess we'll find out when they promulgate regulations.
Okay.
Okay,
As Donald will probably tell you in our experience, there's not a single application we submit to the commissioner that doesn't require his or her approval.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it's more oversight and approval than fee. Any other questions or comments on 6.7, 6.9? Seeing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Yeah. Mrs. Hussein, yeah. Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mrs. Martinka? Yes. Mr. Oldslayer?
Yes.
Spencer? Yes. Mrs. Wilson? Yes. Mr. Carvalho?
Yes. Mr. Olenschlager, I'm gonna ask you to move 7.1 to 7.9.
I will, Donna, I will send you, a revised version of 6.7 to make it easier for you. And I'll also send you my committee report. And I would, respectfully request that all committee chairs submit their committee reports to Donna so that she can generate the, minutes, of the meetings. So Donna, one last question on 7.4. Yeah,
That'd be you, Donna.
well, can we say anything to convince you to stay?
No, she's packed.
So, I will move the adoption of resolution 7.1 through 7.9 and ask that 7.4 be revised to state that we accept with regret
Agreed.
the resignation.
All right, is there a second?
Kai goes to the runner over here.
All right, the second.
Okay,
Any, yeah, thank you for that comment. Obviously, well, not obviously, I think we all second that comment that it's with regret. Ms. Alonso's been here and I know that she's done a lot to turn this around and we'll actually discuss it a little bit when we get to finance. So we have many things to thank her for. Any other comments?
I just want to echo Mr. Carvalho says. Some of you might not know the background. When I came to Bloomingdale as the acting superintendent very suddenly, I was also told we need a BA. So at that time, I look back in my notes, there were 67 vacancies in New Jersey at that time. And so interims are hard to find any day, let alone with 67 2 years ago. So I just started randomly emailing people on the interim list and Donna replied and Donna said, I'll stay for 4 weeks to cover you to the end of the year. And here we are 2 years later, Donna's still here. So unfortunately, sad to see her go into retirement. We're certainly going to miss you. As I tell you every day, I'm very jealous of you going to the warm weather, but as you tell me every day. Yeah. Mhm.
I just want to echo that. I thank you very much for your professionalism, your good humor, and your down-home common sense. And wish you all the best.
And for your expert knowledge, because that's what really turned this district around.
Roll call.
Mrs. Greco? Yeah. Big neck.
Yes, with regret.
Mrs. Martinka? Yeah. Mr. Olenschlager?
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer? Yes. Mrs. Wilson? Yes. Mr. Carvalho?
Yes. This time I'd like to move on to academic programming. Ms. Spencer, move 8.1 to 8.4.
I move to adopt resolution 8.1 through 8.4.
Second by Ms. Martinka. Any questions or comments on 8.1 to 8.4?
When is the conference under 8.4?
It is March 31st to April 2nd. Or 3rd, in that range. Yeah, it's over a weekend, so I should only have actually one day out of district.
Any other questions or comments? No, seeing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Greco? Yeah. Mrs. Hussein? Yeah. Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mrs. Martinka? Yes.
Mr. Olenschlager,
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer,
Yeah.
Mrs. Wilson.
Yeah.
Mr. Carvalho.
Yes. This time I'm gonna ask Ms. Hussein to move 9.1 and 9.2.
I like to move, 9.1 and 9.2. Second.
Wilson?
Are there any questions or comments on 9.1 to 9.2? Seeing none, do we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Greco.
Yeah.
Mrs. Hussein. Mrs. Marcus.
Yes.
Mrs. Martinka.
Yeah.
Mr. Olenschlager.
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer.
Yes.
Mrs. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Carabao.
Yes. This time, move on to finance. Ms. Greco, can you move 10.1 to 10.5?
Yeah, I'd like to move motion from 10.1 to 10.5, 10.5 being amended. Second.
That's Mrs.
Martinka.
Wilson, right? Or-
Martinka.
Oh,
Questions or comments on 10.1, 10.5? I'd like to make some comments. I think we all received copies of the amended treasurer reports. And I did review them with Ms. Alonso. Just want to point out that although the total number didn't change, there was some significant amendments to, starting with July. We did move $1 million to capital reserve, so it came out of general fund to capital. Previously, we have, the board had approved $2 million, so it's within the scope of what we approved, move $1 million. There was some other corrections year on year, month on month, where they moved $3,485.72 on capital project expense, moved to August. And I think throughout the remainder of the following months, there were some corrections. And December was very transparent, very clean. I don't know if you have any other comments that you wanted to make to that?
no, if you remember, we ended last year in CDK and then began the new year in Genesis in the software packages. So we really didn't even close out CDK. Started with approximate opening balances in Genesis, and that's what we waited for the audit for confirmation on those opening balances and reallocations, you know, if the auditor decides to reclass certain things. So the audit adjustments reflected all those changes, and just to bring everything, you know, current, we had to go back and rerun July, August, September, October, like that, so that they're being presented for your approval again.
Any other questions? 10.1, 10.5? No? All right, then roll call, please.
Mrs. Greco.
Yeah.
Mrs. Hussein.
Yeah.
Mrs. Marcus.
Yes.
Mrs. Martinka. Mr. Olenschlager.
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer.
Yeah.
Mrs. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Carabao.
Yes. This time I'd like to move into liaison reports, starting with the Butler Board of Education, Ms. Greco.
Yes, I attended the January 19th meeting. During that meeting, we did receive ethics training from New Jersey school boards. Dr. Johnson did give an update. This year Butler went through their QSAC. At the next meeting, which is next week, I'm sure that we'll discuss their findings. The principal, Mr. Fitzgerald from Butler High School, did recognize the Educator of the Year was for Conklin, rather. She is a science teacher over at the high school. And the educational professional of the school year for Butler High School was Sue Maurer, who was one of the counselors over at the high school. So we congratulate them, and the meeting that I will be attending next week. Next week.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any, going on to Drug Alliance, a report?
Just that the Unity through Community Dodgeball game is scheduled for March 30th at 6:30 here.
One other item, Ted, too. I know it's still in the very early planning works, but I know Mr. Sandemeyer from the borough and I are copied on emails about possibly a dance taking place sponsored by Unity Through Community. It's still early on right now, but
Thank
Did you say March 30th?
March 30th.
Okay.
30th, yep.
So
I'm not the only one playing dodgeball this year.
wait a second.
Oh, sorry.
Wait a second. I played last year. I was in there till the end.
I was
So
planning on
if-
having us all be a team. So clearly that's not.
Well, if-
You got the pass.
Look, you had an excuse last year. You don't have an excuse this year.
I'll take care of first aid.
So if you're going to participate, who do you talk to?
Myself. I'll send out, as it gets closer, I'll send
Okay.
out details.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thank you. Mayor and council, Dr. Garcia, any report?
It's not necessarily the mayor and council, but it's the borough related. As we spoke about last time, the borough did lose their longtime recreation director. So the position is currently vacant. We've been working with the borough to assist with preparations for Bloomingdale day camp, because obviously they run it out of our facility. And as the educational organization, we have a lot of background in building schedules, building educational programs for student supervision. So we've been lending a helping hand to the borough in planning that program. I believe information should come out in the near future, and hopefully it's going to be a nice blend of incorporating some district staff as part of their programming, which hadn't been in place in the past.
Thank you.
I have questions about that. So in the past, since the rec committee ran it, and there's a big parent pay into it. Is that going into the borough now? Is the school getting, or?
It would be all the borough. The borough is going to handle the whole finance end. We're assisting with the planning and possibly our use of our facilities and possibly our staff, but the borough would still handle the compensation for everything.
Other comments on that? No, then move on to New Jersey School Board Association, Ms. Wilson.
I don't have much to report, just, there, as of February 1st, there's a new requirement for new school board members that, and they need to complete their, first year training within the first 90 days of being sworn.
Thank you. And I think some of the comments before the meeting started, we all should be completing our disclosure forms by April 30th. So if you're like me, and need help doing that, reach out to somebody and get help.
Donna before she leaves.
Yeah, right. Passaic County's School Board Association, Ms. Hussein.
They had their meeting on January 24th, 2023. There was the big part of the meeting was a slide presentation on how to be an effective board member. There was also School Board Recognition Month, and just some legislative updates as always. So,
Thank you.
that concludes my report.
Okay. Marcus, planning.
Well, planning was snowed out the last meeting because that snowstorm that never was, but they canceled the meeting. There's nothing on the upcoming agenda related to us, just in the background, and that's not specific to they're in the process. Money has been set aside to review the master plan, and that does include the educational element of the master plan. But there's nothing specific on right now that relates to us.
Okay, thank you. PTA, Ms. Hussein.
There was PTA they had a very successful penny war, and like a few weeks ago, MBD and Martha B. Day first grade won, SRD fourth grade won, and Walter D. Brogan eighth grade were the winners. The Spring Gertrude Hawk fundraiser is going on right now, and tickets are on sale for the PTA Tricky Tray fundraiser, the biggest fundraiser for the PTA that they hold each year. It will take place on Friday, May 12th, 7 p.m. at the Barnyard and Carriage House in Totowa. Tickets are $55 and are on sale now. You can go to the PTA website for ticket sales. It's also posted on Facebook on the Facebook event. And that's my report.
Thank you. Recreation, Wilson.
The recreation meeting was Monday, February 13th. They do have 2 openings on the commission. So they're looking for some new members. We discussed, the summer camp. There were some issues with, I guess, the basketball program, some issues with parents and coaches, and so they were talking about putting together like a contract for coaches and parents to sign before the beginning of the next basketball season. They had some parents come to the meeting that were interested in helping to grow the basketball program too, which was nice.
Thank you very much. Seniors has their next meeting February 28th. I'll report back to the board after that meeting. At this time, open up the floor to any old business. Just remind the board, we have our board retreat March the 7th. So just remind everybody of that. New business? No new business. At this time, can I get a motion to open the second public comment subject to bylaws number 167? You guys duke it out. Tell me who moved and tell me who
Lauren
seconds.
Greco moved and Nadia Hussein second.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This time we're open for second public comment. It's not restricted to agenda items only.
Dan Hawkins, 6 Pearl Street, Bloomingdale, New Jersey. I noticed one of the items that was on the agenda was a change in the active shooter policy. And all the previous elements have been stricken, and there is a simple reference to New Jersey Administrative Code section. I looked at the section, and it's not prescriptive in terms of how the plan is supposed to be developed. It merely basically says it's got to be done in consultation with the police. But it seems to me that that possibly leaves out any expectation on the part of parents as to if there's an active shooter, what is to be their response. In other words, they won't know what the plan is. Now, I don't know whether this is because people don't want to disclose the plan in case somebody decides they want to do, put something together to defeat that plan. But if these things are subject to OBRA, I don't know how effective that's going to be.
Sure. That was the exact spirit behind changing the policy, is the plan should no longer be in the public domain. So the plan is, like you spoke about, developed in conjunction with the police department, typically revised each summer. It goes before the board in the summer meetings for approval. The board's fully briefed on the plan. The whole spirit is it's no longer in the public domain. It's kept as a confidential document. It actually would not be subject to OPRA. So that's why it's all kind of removed.
Is there any intention to create a subdivision or a sub-plan that would be available for parents? So who do I contact? Oh my God, I just heard that there's a shooting at SRD. What do I do? And, of course, the impulse is go to the school and
Sure.
get my kid. But is there any plan to say, provide with a plan of action that in the event there's a shooting, these are the people who will be dealing with you to give you information and let you know where you can go and that sort of thing.
It's an excellent idea. Let me take that back to our administrative team, because that's certainly something we could publish as a kind of a parent's guide. There's no reason for that to be confidential. So yes, let me take that back. I meet with the administrative team the first and last week of every month. So let me take that back at our next meeting and see what we could graph together and put up on the website in the near future.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great idea. It really is.
Quick question.
Sure.
For clarification on the confidential nature is, my thinking would be that, is the logic behind that, that if there is somebody who has malicious intentions, that they would know the plan ahead of time?
100%. That plan contains the police department's actions, what the auxiliary department's responding would be, what our internal protocols are. So that's why the policy even was already a stripped down version of that, but now it's completely in the confidential domain.
Yeah. So it's like, so the focus, I mean, like the guide, I think I'm interested in seeing that. But I think it's like the focus is on the security more than the transparency for security reasons.
Correct.
All 3 policies under 8420
Right.
were revised for that
That's
exact
right,
reason.
So what was that chart that's on the wall?
So that
Each
chart,
classroom.
it's probably in this, usually it's by the door in every room. So it's probably over there
Right,
as
and
well.
there's one in there.
So in all of our classrooms and rooms, district wide, there's a chart in English and in Spanish, because it has to be for people that use our facilities and for our students, that basically goes through our 5 security commands as part of the standard response protocol. And that's common language used throughout every building in our district. So if you happen to be in SRD and then you have to travel to Walter T, it's the identical language being used. It also is posted in every room because you have a substitute teacher or community organization in at night that uses this. It could as easily as a reference point. Those commands are not confidential. It's the actions that take place behind the scenes
I got you.
are the confidential part.
And the commands may be just for the public, they should.
Yeah, that's a great, yes, absolutely. There's no harm.
Remember what to do and
What to,
whatever.
yeah,
Exactly.
What they
Right.
don't want out is where are the police gonna
Yeah,
be
no,
coming from?
I
Are they
understand, I'm
stated?
just-
Yeah.
that the public
Where-
should know that there are
Off campus.
things right
Yeah,
in
it's like
front
the
of
fire
the,
buildings.
yeah,
They're all the
right.
same.
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
that the teacher doesn't have to think, and the kids that, they can just do it.
Correct. Well, we don't share. The elements in the plan are, where our evacuation sites are,
Right.
where when the police first respond, they're going to secure as a command post, the order in which they're going to release certain key district personnel or get district personnel to certain sites. That is all in that confidential
Yeah.
plan.
And that was shared with the board earlier in the year, if you recall, and we
Yeah.
all had a chance to review and comment on
Right, yeah.
For each school,
for each school.
for each
Correct.
school, we had 3 different plans.
But as long as the public understands what's confidential and what isn't, because
Right.
as the gentleman points out, that there is definitely things parents want to know about.
It's a great idea because what to do is a key element there. If something were to happen on the
Mhm.
parent end, yes.
Kelly Graziano, 29 Captain. I heard mention of consideration of an emotional regulation room. And I was wondering where in the process we are with that. Is that something that is under consideration, actively being created, or is that, a more general idea that's being explored?
Sure, I'm happy to. Right, so it's in the formation stages right now. The process is, the curriculum committee met. I brought the idea with Ms. Arima to them, and the justification within the district. They supported it. So we are applying to the Department of Education needs to sign off on it. We've done this before in district fairly recently. There's no reason for them to deny it because we have the justification. So once they approve it, then we could start staffing that room out and including it for next year. If we identify student, then we also at the same time concurrently work on building the philosophy behind it, getting equipment for the room, and then approaching families about any potential IEP change into that classroom. We anticipate right now the room will be based at Samuel R. Donnell.
My next question was, I think you referenced 4 out-of-district students to be brought back in, and whether we're in a position to provide the level of services necessary to meet the needs of those services. The needs of those students is currently being provided at their organization. Is that something I was just, I guess, more of a comment than a question, to ensure that those things are actively in place. And then I guess my third is, given the size of our district, I'm assuming this emotional regulation room would involve multiple grades. And, I was curious as to the current grade range, which is under consideration for combination in one room.
Why don't I call you tomorrow and we could discuss a lot of those points in detail. It's going to be placed at Samuel R. The specifics though, placed at Samuel R. Donald. It's really the reason we came to the curriculum committee with the idea is we feel like this is a lack of need in our district, and many districts are opening these programs because, right now we have general education programming, we have resource rooms for students who struggle academically, but right now if a student's having, significant behavioral struggles, we don't have a stop before out of district. And we feel like, we want to put a stop in where we feel like, we could meet their needs in district. These are students that don't have such severe behaviors that need to be placed out of district. So we could build a program so they stay in their community. They're supported at their home school. It's a blend of, they're in their general education classroom part of the day. They're in this classroom with a different teacher working on emotional regulation strategies another part of the day. So we want to get this type of program open and in Bloomingdale. Because we do have some students that are out of district right now for the sole reason of we don't have a program like that here. So we are looking to kind of open that for September.
What's your address again? 29 Captain.
And
Thank
it
you.
would be multi-grade, I think.
It likely would be multi-grade, but that's really based on parents agreeing to place their child in the class, parents touring, parents meeting with the child study team. So it could be multi-grade. It could end up not being. But I'll call you tomorrow, Mrs. Graziano, and we could discuss. Thank you. Before or after.
Thank you. Any other? Anyone else that want to make a public comment at this time? Seeing none, can I get a motion to close public comment? All in favor? Aye. This time I get a motion for adjournment. All in favor? This time, we're adjourned. Thank you.